Hey yo guys, it's Deep here, and I'm back for a bit more Genshin content, just because I've heard some things online while I'm searching up for my Kachina team that have made me riot with anger, made me so sad that Kachina can't be used as a main DPS, that she's much better as a sub DPS, and that the set is basically made for her or Xilonen. Well, I say nay. I say nay. I say she can be a main DPS. I say she will be a main DPS. And this video will prove it. Now, it won't prove it damage-wise. At least not yet. Because my Kachina is still level 80. Her weapon, the one that's given, Footprint in the Rainbow, which you can craft for the increased defense percentage, is also just level 80. She is also only C2, and technically her best constellation for damage would be C5, although C6 would be a bit helpful with the 200% defense damage from AoE. And her talents are only at 8, at least her DPS talents. Obviously, you put this beautiful character at 10. Not yet, though. I was still farming Xilonen, so that took a lot of resin now. But today, I wanted to show you just how she could be used as the main DPS. And this is going to be very simple. I'm going to show you 3 teams, 3 different teams that I've made, all based around Kachina and Xilonen, which are the only 2 characters that I really have. And I'm going to see how much stronger they are compared to each other, right? Because, now, this is a problem for me. I'm not a very well-built character. I'm not even AR60. My current party setup is Candace at level 60 here with Xilonen, level 80. No artifacts. Weapon is level 70. No constellations, because of course not. Her talents are at least decent. So she's not going to be doing any damage. I'm not trying to do a damage test here. I'm just trying to Theorycraft what teams would make this work, right? Best way to do this, let's go check the sets. Now, Kachina's set is very simple. While the equipping character is in Nightsoul's Blessing and on field, the damage dealt is increased by 15%. It's in the after the equipping character consumes 1 Nightsoul point, their crit rate increases by 40%, which allows us to have more crit damage and less crit rate in her artifacts. That's fine. Which is why I also have her only at 50% crit rate here. Her gameplay is going to be exactly the same as if you'd be playing Mulanni. Exactly the same. And this is because her next set, the supporting character sets, which currently is only usable by Kachina or Xilonen, is Scroll of the Hero of Cinder City. When a nearby party member triggers Nightsoul Burst, the equipping character generates 6 elemental energy. Alright, nice. But after the equipping character, which in this case is Xilonen, triggers a reaction related to their elemental type, which is Geo, all nearby elemental party members gain a 12% damage bonus for the elemental types involved in the elemental reaction. Okay, and if they're in the Nightsoul Blessing, which you always will be, they'll gain an additional 28%. It's 40% elemental damage bonus for Geo in this case. This is great. This also says they can be triggered off-field. Not what we're looking for right now. Not what we're looking for. In this case, we're going to be triggering it on-field. How are we going to do this? Very simple. You're going to have someone else apply the reaction to the enemy first, and then we're going to pull out Xilonen to trigger that buff. Who's this character going to be? For me, Xilonen. Super simple. We're going to pull out her buff, we're going to pull out her ulti, and then we're just going to switch to Xilonen. That's all she's going to do. She's going to apply Hydro to the enemies. This Hydro is going to stay on the enemies as Xilonen does her Crystallize for Hydro. And then we're going to switch to Kachina, and she's going to have the 40% elemental damage buff. With the Resistance Shred if all goes correctly. Such as Xilonen's kit working correctly. Again, I said this in my last video, but my Xilonen is C2, so she is going to be increasing Kachina's damage plus 50%. But I'm not sure exactly when that happens. We'll see that better mid-fight. I want to talk now about the third slot in our teams, and this is where it's going to change. If my ideas are correct, C0, you're going to need another element to be your third slot here, as it can't be Geo. Because if it's Geo, then Xilonen isn't going to apply her resistance shred for Geo, and she is instead going to become a main DPS. That's not what we want. In my case, I decided to pick Candace. First, love her. Love her character design. She's beautiful. She's gameplay's cool. She has a spear. She's got a shield. Go pa pa pa. Amazing. Second off, this is going to be her talents. Her talents will be increasing the damage they deal to opponents for every 1,000 points of Candace's max HP when they deal elemental damage with their normal attacks. Now, Kachina will be dealing elemental damage, Geo elemental damage with her skill, and that skill is considered a normal attack. Simple as, she bounces, that's a normal attack. This is her ultimate. It's also going to be applying some AoE hydro damage, and it would be increasing the elemental damage dealt, and also applying hydro infusion. But I'm actually not sure if that works. I'm gonna be honest. Maybe I'll look this up real quick. I'm actually not sure if that works, to be honest, with the skill. I don't believe so. I don't believe it can be infused. That's fine. We don't need it to be infused anyway. She's still going to be doing the elemental damage, and that's all that matters. Now, of course, this would be applying the resistance shred. But at C2, I think, and this is where my Theorycrafting goes a bit off the rails, that Xilonen can also apply her resistance shred to Geo characters in more mono Geo teams. Now, we still need Xilonen to form the crystallized reaction, but this would give us the option of using Gorou. Gorou is a great Geo support because his talents make him do a lot more defense damage. Free Geo characters adds crunch, Geo damage bonus, adds increased resistance to interruption, which isn't all that amazing, but it's fine. Adds defense bonus, great. And this generates one crystal collapse, which deals AoE damage and pulls the crystallizers, which we're getting to Kachina. Amazing. It's very good. Very good. Of course, if we did have him level up, and this is again why it's not a DPS showcase, we would be getting more buffs. We don't have that, however, so we can only Theorycraft for now. My last option, Yunshin. Now, she is the one I'm least, I'd say I'm not so focused on her because she does increase the basic attack damage, which in our case would be by 5% because we'd have 2 elemental types, and deal more damage based on her defense. Again, normal attack damage, which Kachina's skill counts as. Considering that we would have the resistance shred in this case, which we'll still have to test, it would be good enough. It does say that the effects of the skill will be cleared after saturation, but again, we're playing Kachina as we would Mullani. We're gonna go in there, use our basic attacks or skills for around 6 seconds, which is how long the buff or the skill lasts, and the buff for the set lasts, and then we're done. We're out. We're switching, we're doing the whole thing again. It's that simple. So, how are we gonna test these? In Natlin, we have a bit of a buff, because even if Kachina runs out of her skill there, she still has Flawless on her, so she can keep bouncing. That's unfair, right? Other areas don't have this, Abyss doesn't have this. So, we're gonna go to Sumeru. More specifically, we're going to go to this boss fight right here. I don't like him very much, honestly, but I need to farm him for Candace, so he's as good of a test subject as it gets, right? So, how is this gonna start? Again, I'm sure that in this team, Xilonen is going to start ulti, and then Xilonen is going to apply her resistance shred to the enemy. Now, can this happen in other teams? Is what we're going to see later. Let's see. Ulti. E. Base attack. Xilonen. 2 normal attacks. Candace ulti. And skill. 2 normal attacks. Get the buff back. And like that. Now, this was a very fast combo. Obviously, now we switch again. We go back to Xilonen. Ulti again. Candace. Use Xilonen. Like that, and then the heal is back. But see, it's a very simple a combo to do. And our ulti should be back at this point as well. But how would this apply in other teams? Because this is my base team. I'm sure this team works. Xilonen is applying her resistance shred, as we can see by her bar filling. And doing that little nah when it happens. Let's try out another. How about Gorou? If the resistance shred works the way we expect it to, then Gorou could be an upgrade to Candace, because his buffs are more geo-focused and more defense-focused. Kachina would be dealing more damage overall. But does it work? Let's test it. Start with Xilonen. Then Xilonen. Bar isn't going up. Let's ulti. Let's use Gorou's skill, and then we'll switch to Kachina. 2 base attacks. Damage still seems to be improved. Seems to be larger damage than in Candace's case. And Gorou is not leveled up at all. Unlike Candace. Was the resistance shred applied though? Because obviously Gorou's buff is much better. Oh, sorry Gorou. Is much better to Kachina than Candace's. But is it working? Let's see. Let's move on to another boss, shall we? I like the one in that one. Oh, fat guy over here. We're gonna read what the Constellation does together. That's the best way. C2. Xilonen's geo source samples will always remain active. Additionally, when her source samples activate, all nearby party members will gain effects corresponding to the source sample that matches their elemental type, which in our case was Geo, damage dealt plus 50%. Now, this does say that her source samples will always remain active. So if I come here and I read her talent, let the rhythms of passion resound through the land. That's not what I want. Has free samples that can generate different soundscapes, decreasing nearby opponents' corresponding elemental resistance while active. So that bar doesn't need to go up. All that she needs to do now is form the crystallize and pick it up. So Geo is always working. Gorou, in this case, is a much better alternative than Candace. That's surprising, honestly. If it's always active, it means he could simply just form the crystal. Sorry, I forgot Gorou was dead. He can simply form the crystallize and back up. And leave even more space for Kachina to do her damage. With Xilonen, of course, because Xilonen is, let's be honest, gonna be a big part of this team. If you don't have Xilonen, anyone who does a lot of infusion works, Changchu, maybe even some pyro works as well. That should be fine. Let's try this again. Oh, sorry about that. I made a mistake there. That. Get the crystallize, pick it up, get Gorou, skill. I skilled first at least. And not as much damage as before, but still very good. And since I'm in that one, this just keeps going. Let's switch over to her. Ulti. Xilonen. Get on ultimate. Not bad damage. Imagine if Gorou was evolved and if Kachina was more evolved. This is okay. Instead of Candace, I'm saying that Gorou is the best support for Kachina. If you have Xilonen C2, of course. If you don't have her C2, then her geo samples won't always remain active, and that just won't work. Since that's the case, how about we try a different? This is my mono geo, but with a shielder, and not Zhongli, because Zhongli will not do any elemental reaction, removing Xilonen's buff. What Kirara is doing here, or let's say another character like Diona, is applying a shield so that C6 Kachina would be doing more damage. Because in C6 Kachina's case, this would of course give that elemental or that explosive burst. If this works out, it's going to be starting the same way, but instead of just using Yvonne first, we're going to use Carrara. Come here. Quick tap on Carrara. We apply Dendro to him, and we get shield. Now Xilonen, she applies... Well, I'm an idiot. I forgot Xilonen doesn't work with Dendro. Recap, restart. Okay, let's do this. Start off. Get the ulti. Get the crystallize off, pick it up. I did not mean to do this, but whatever. 1, 2, ulti off. Damage is still looking good. And you know what's simpler? Is that I forgot to use Gorou's ability. So I could be doing even more damage. Okay. This is a solid team if you have her at C6. Now, of course, we have lost it, so we're gonna have to do Diona again. Get Xilonen out. Get the crystallize. Then ulti. Bit odd on that ulti there. Okay, this team works. Surprisingly. This surprisingly works. Let's try this again. This time, an actual combo. Diona. Xilonen. I can't pick up the crystallize. There it is. Now onto Gorou. I would ulti with Gorou and then skill, or one of whatever. I don't know how to play Gorou. And then I'd use her abilities and then switch back to Xilonen. And since we have free Geo, our energy recharges is just not that enough. Not that needed. This is a much better team than I thought it would. And look at this. That's Kachina main DPS. That's all she can do. Of course, her best team does seem to be with Xilonen C2. At least until other supports that can use the new set are added, or other sub DPSs, because Kachina is a main DPS. In my art, at least. But if you don't have Gorou, just use Candace or someone else. And honestly, it works fine. It does a lot of damage. I level up Xilonen, I level up Kachina, I level up Gorou. This team is clearing a Bliss 412. Most likely. So yeah, that's all I wanted to show you guys. Please, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you need any more tips on Kachina, ask down in the comments. Leave a like if you did. And subscribe to see more. Bye bye.